Not all women are the same. And not every woman will use all of these tests. But if you've ever found yourself confused by mixed signals, hot and cold behavior, or sudden changes in energy, chances are you've been tested without even knowing it. Women don't always test men on purpose. Most of the time, they don't even realize they're doing it. But these tests are real. They're happening in nearly every early interaction. And if you fail them, by being too eager, too reactive, or too emotionally exposed, you will lose her attraction before anything begins. She's not doing it to play games. She's doing it because her biology needs to feel your strength. She needs to feel that you are grounded, unshaken, and fully in control of yourself. That's what draws her in. That's what keeps her engaged. And that's what separates the man she sleeps with from the man she forgets. This video will break down the most common ways that happens and how you can pass every single one. Number 1, she mentions other men. This is one of the oldest and most misunderstood tests. She casually brings up other men, an ex-boyfriend, a celebrity crush, a guy at work who just won't leave her alone, or worse, someone she's recently dated. She doesn't do it to be cruel. She does it to feel your response. And your response tells her everything she needs to know about your internal strength. Most men make one of two mistakes here. Either they become visibly uncomfortable and insecure, or they try to outdo the man she mentioned by bragging, proving, or subtly competing. Both reactions fail the test. Both tell her that you base your value on external comparison, and that instantly lowers your status in her mind. When she mentions other men, what she's really doing is asking, "Can you stand solid while I throw something at your ego? If you get angry, you're weak. If you try harder to impress her, you're needy. But if you stay unmoved, if you treat it like it's irrelevant to your emotional center, she feels your power." Passing this test doesn't mean ignoring her completely. It means responding without attachment. If she says her ex was tall, you might say, "Cool. Good for him." If she says her coworker keeps texting her, you can calmly respond, "Sounds like he's got time to waste." Short, cool, and said without sarcasm or jealousy. You're not dismissive. You're just uninterested in games. This approach does something powerful. It signals to her that you don't see other men as competition. Because in your world, no one can compete with you. Not from arrogance, but from certainty. You're not better than anyone. You're simply not trying to win anything, and that's what makes you win. What's important here is emotional neutrality. You don't need to prove your value. You don't try to outperform invisible rivals. You just show up as yourself. The grounded man, the one who doesn't chase validation, the one who isn't shaken by her references, hints, or passive comparisons. When she sees that you're stable in the face of indirect provocation, she relaxes. Because now she knows your confidence isn't fragile. Your frame is real. Your power is quiet. And that is what makes you memorable. Number 2, the silent eye contact test. Silence is never empty. In attraction, silence is often the loudest language a woman speaks. When she stares at you without saying anything, holds her gaze just a little longer than usual, or lets a quiet pause sit between words, she's not just observing, she's feeling. And more importantly, she's watching to see if you can hold your ground. Most men can't. The moment silence enters the space, they rush to fill it. With a joke, a compliment, a question, a nervous laugh. But every time you do that, you show her that you are uncomfortable with intensity. You show her that her gaze, her energy, her presence is bigger than yours. And in that moment, her attraction begins to fade. This test isn't about words. It's about your presence, your ability to meet her eyes without flinching, to let the silence sit without scrambling to fix it, to simply be without trying to impress or perform. That presence is rare. That presence is masculine. And that's exactly what she's looking for. When she locks eyes with you and doesn't speak, that is your opportunity, not to break the moment, not to escalate too fast, but to anchor, to root yourself in stillness, to slow down your breath, relax your body, and let her feel the depth of your attention without needing anything in return. If you can hold that moment without awkwardness, without proving, without asking, you become magnetic. Because most men try to rush toward intimacy. But the grounded man, he allows her to come toward him, not with words, but with emotional gravity. To pass this test, practice holding eye contact in silence, not as a game, but as a natural extension of your calm. If your heart races, let it. But don't let your body react. Don't fidget. Don't smirk. Just hold it. Let the silence grow. And let her feel that you're not rushing to make her comfortable, because you're already comfortable in yourself. This kind of tension is what builds desire. It's not what you say, it's not what you do, it's what you don't need to do. When she realizes she's feeling more in your stillness than she does with other men's performance, she starts to see you differently. You're no longer just another guy. You've become an experience. Number 3, the backhanded compliment test. This test often flies under the radar, but it's one of the clearest signals she's observing your emotional maturity. She'll say something like, "You're actually kind of cute for a shy guy," or "I didn't expect you to be so smart." It sounds like a compliment, but there's a sting in it. That sting is the test. She's not insulting you. She's lightly challenging you. She's giving you just enough praise to tempt your ego, and just enough bite to see if you'll defend it. Most men take the bait. They react. They try to clarify themselves or prove her wrong. "I'm not shy. I've always been smart, I just don't show it off." They don't realize they've already failed. A backhanded compliment is designed to shake your frame just enough to make you reveal how stable, or unstable, you really are. If you respond defensively, you show her that your self-image is fragile. If you try to earn her full approval, you show her that her opinion controls your identity. But when you pass this test, you do something rare. You laugh. You lean back. You let it pass. To pass this test, you don't fight the insult or chase the praise. You smile, maybe raise an eyebrow, and respond playfully. Or don't respond at all. You stay in your lane. Because a man who knows who he is doesn't need to correct how others describe him. He lets people talk. He doesn't take the bait. This kind of response does something powerful. It communicates complete emotional control. You're not seeking validation. You're not afraid of critique. You don't need to correct her perception. You lead with inner clarity. That clarity is deeply attractive. Women don't test you because they want to argue. They test to feel who they're dealing with. When she realizes her words don't hook you, don't shake you, don't pull you out of your grounded presence, she starts to trust you more. Why? Because now she knows you can handle her unpredictability, her energy, her emotions, all without needing to defend your ego. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man doesn't chase compliments. He becomes the standard others are drawn to. Number 4, the pretend to ignore you test. You're in a social setting. You've had a good conversation, shared laughs, made eye contact. You can feel the tension building, but then, suddenly, she shifts. She becomes colder, doesn't acknowledge you the same way, maybe even acts like you're not there. And now you're confused. Did you do something wrong? Was she never interested to begin with? This is the pretend to ignore you test, and it's far more common than most men realize. It's not about cruelty. It's about seeing how easily your energy changes when hers disappears. She's not trying to break you down. She's trying to see if your confidence was real, or if it was just a performance based on her validation. Most men crumble here. They react quickly. They over-approach. They ask, "Is everything okay?" They try to recapture the energy, to fix the vibe, to pull her back in. And in doing so, they show her that her attention is their oxygen, that without it, they lose their grounding. The man who passes this test does the exact opposite. He does nothing. When she pulls back, he stays exactly the same. Calm, centered, engaged with his surroundings. He doesn't chase the attention he had. He doesn't try to force connection. He lets her come and go without letting it change a single part of his energy. This response isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. Because what she's truly watching for is emotional independence. She wants to know if your confidence comes from within or if it depends on how others treat you. When you show her that you don't lose your cool when she withdraws, you instantly become different from 99% of men. To pass this test, stay present. Stay in your conversation, your task, your internal peace. Don't shift just because she does. If she's ignoring you, let her. If she's acting colder, match it with calm. Let her feel that her silence doesn't disturb your self-worth. That's when she starts to respect you. That's when she starts to lean back in. It's never about being rude. It's about not reacting. The less you need her to stay warm to feel good about yourself, the more she will want to feel your warmth again. This is not about playing games. It's about showing that your value isn't a reaction to attention. It's a reflection of who you are, even when no one is looking. Number 5. The physical touch gauge test. Touch is one of the most powerful tools in human communication. And when a woman initiates physical contact, especially subtle, lingering, or unexpected touch, she's not just being affectionate. She's reading you. She's feeling your energy. She's observing what happens to your body, your eyes, your breathing. It's a test, and most men fail it instantly. She may place her hand on your arm, lean her body against yours, or rest her fingers lightly on your back as she walks past. It's small, almost forgettable, but to her, it's loaded with meaning. She's watching whether you stay present, or whether you lose control, get flustered, or immediately try to escalate. The man who fails will either freeze up or overreact. He'll touch back too fast. Or his energy will change completely. Nervous smile, altered breathing, more eager voice. She'll sense it immediately. And in that instant, the mystique she felt vanishes. Because she now knows you weren't grounded to begin with. You were waiting for her touch to define your confidence. To pass this test, you receive her touch with calm awareness. You don't tense. You don't shift your energy. You don't lean into it like you've been starved for contact. You let her feel your steady response, your emotional and physical presence remaining intact. You don't ignore her touch, but you don't make it the focus either. You continue leading the moment. You continue speaking with slow certainty. You maintain your rhythm and allow her touch to be a natural part of the space, not a turning point in your confidence. This does something extremely powerful. It shows her that you are comfortable in your body and comfortable with hers. Not in a creepy, controlling way, but in a calm, masculine way that says, "Touch doesn't shake me. I own this space." And that's the signal her body responds to on a deep, primal level. Touch is not just about physical chemistry. It's about emotional safety. If your body tenses or your mood shifts drastically when she initiates touch, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability in a man's presence feels unsafe. But when you can absorb that contact and maintain your emotional frequency, she starts to feel something deeper: trust. So, the next time she touches you, whether playful, suggestive, or soft, slow down your breath. Stay in your rhythm. Let her feel that you were grounded before her hand landed on you, and you'll be just as grounded after it leaves. That's how you become memorable, not because of how you reacted, but because of how you remained. Number 6, the offended or dramatic test. This is one of the most emotionally charged tests a woman can give. You say something she doesn't like, or maybe she just pretends not to. Her facial expression changes. She gasps. She looks shocked. "Wow, I can't believe you said that." Or she becomes quiet and cold, implying you crossed a line. Now you're unsure what just happened. You start questioning yourself, overanalyzing your words, wondering if you offended her. This is the offended or dramatic test. It doesn't always mean she's genuinely upset. Often she's testing the strength of your identity. She's not just reacting to what you said. She's watching how quickly you abandon your truth when faced with emotional pressure. Most men fail here by folding. They apologize too fast. They explain themselves. They get nervous. They say, "I didn't mean it like that," or, "You know I was just joking." They try to smooth it over and earn her approval back. But in doing so, they show her something she cannot unsee. A man who cannot stand by his words. A man who changes direction the moment a woman changes tone. The man who passes this test understands that emotional waves will come, and he doesn't need to surf every one of them. He remains calm, steady, grounded. If what he said was inappropriate, he takes responsibility without shame or panic. If it was simply misunderstood, he clarifies without apologizing for being himself. The goal isn't to be rude or dismissive. It's to remain centered, to let her feel your calm when she becomes chaotic. When she reacts, you breathe deeper. When she shifts energy, you slow down. You meet her emotion with presence, not panic. This isn't about dominance, it's about stability. She needs to know that your masculinity isn't fragile, that her emotional weather doesn't shake your core. And when she sees that you don't scramble to regain her approval, she begins to trust your leadership. Because now, she knows you won't fold when things get tense. Not in a conversation, not in a disagreement, not in life. To pass this test, practice emotional breathing. Practice pausing before you respond. Let her reaction land without letting it control your next move. Speak with clarity and slow control. And if you truly believe in what you said, stand by it. Let her feel your spine. That's not aggression. That's emotional integrity. And it's rare. Women aren't looking for perfect men. They're looking for men who are safe to follow because they don't abandon themselves under pressure. Be that man. Number 7. The sudden withdrawal test. Everything seemed to be going well. The conversation flowed, the chemistry sparked, the tension built. You felt her leaning in, emotionally and maybe even physically. Then, nothing. She goes cold. Her messages slow down. Her responses turn short. Or worse, she disappears completely for a day or two. And your mind spirals. Did I say something wrong? Was I too forward? Is she seeing someone else? This is the sudden withdrawal test. And it's one of the most destabilizing ones for men, because it targets the deepest part of your confidence, your sense of certainty. But here's the truth. This pullback is often not about what you did wrong. It's about what she wants to see next. She wants to see if your confidence evaporates the moment her energy changes. She wants to know, is this man calm because I'm consistent, or is he only strong when I'm available? When men fail this test, they become hyperactive. They double text. They ask if she's okay. They send a voice note. They post something online to get her attention. They panic and try to force reconnection. And by doing so, they show her that their sense of self is completely dependent on her presence. But the man who passes this test is rare. When she withdraws, he continues his rhythm. He doesn't chase. He doesn't change. He doesn't let the gap in attention become a crisis in identity. He understands something deeper, that her silence is not a demand for response. It's an opportunity to display emotional sovereignty. This doesn't mean you ignore her forever or play games. It means you respond to her new energy with matching calm. If she takes longer to respond, you take your time too, not out of pettiness, but out of peace. You're not punishing her. You're simply not disturbed. Your day continues. Your mood stays grounded. And often it's this very response that brings her back. Not because you played it cool, but because you were cool. Because she felt, maybe for the first time, a man who didn't beg for closeness, who didn't collapse into neediness, who didn't fall apart when she stepped away. To pass this test, strengthen your identity outside of her. Make sure your day, your mission, your self-image are intact, whether she replies in 1 minute or 1 week. Let her feel the absence of your reaction. Let her miss your calm, your presence, your stability. That's when you become different. Not the man who tries harder, but the man who doesn't need to try, because he knows who he is, with her or without her. Number 8, the masculinity mock test. This one is raw and deeply personal. She might say something about your height, or your body type, or your voice. She could comment on how sensitive you are, how you don't look like the type, or how you're not like most guys. It might sound playful. It might even come with a smile. But don't get it twisted. This is a direct probe into your masculine identity. She's not mocking you to be cruel. She's pressing your ego, not to destroy it, but to see what it's made of. She wants to know, will this man defend himself? Will he get insecure? Will he shut down? Or will he stay planted in who he is, untouched by the opinions of others? Most men fail this test immediately. They try to justify. Well, I actually used to be more muscular. I just haven't hit the gym lately. It's just my genetics. They think explanation equals power, but it doesn't. It equals exposure. Because when your self-worth bends under a single comment, it was never solid to begin with. The man who passes this test doesn't argue. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't need to prove anything. If she says, "You're kinda short," he might smile and say, "That's your loss." If she says, "You don't look that strong," he could reply, "Looks can be deceiving." Not with anger, not with pride. Just calm clarity. Passing this test means your sense of manhood is not up for debate. You're not asking her to approve it. You're not waiting for her to validate it. You're simply being. And when you respond without tension, without needing her to backtrack or praise you, you let her feel something rare, a man whose confidence is self-contained. She doesn't want you to be perfect. She wants to know if you can stand your ground without getting emotional. If your sense of masculinity is unshakable, whether praised or challenged. To pass this test, let your reactions be rooted in stillness. Smile, shrug, own your space. Be curious about her, not focused on yourself. Let her comments pass through you like wind through stone. Because the more solid you are in your own skin, the more she wants to be close to it. Masculinity is not proven by defense. It's revealed through presence. The more unmoved you are, the more magnetic you become. Number 9, the comparison to other men test. This test is subtle, but it cuts deep. She mentions another guy in a way that elevates him. Maybe he's more successful. Maybe he's taller, richer, better looking, more confident. She'll say something like, "My ex used to take me on trips all the time." Or, "You remind me of this guy I used to talk to. He was really assertive." She's not praising the other man. She's watching what you do with that information. Most men respond with jealousy or competition. They feel the pressure to prove that they're better. They might talk about their own money, achievements, or start criticizing the man she mentioned. But this reaction exposes something fatal: insecurity. It tells her your sense of value is based on how you measure up to others. And that's not power. That's weakness in disguise. The comparison test is a direct invitation to stay in your frame, not just intellectually, but emotionally. It asks, can you hear about other men and remain unfazed? Can you still hold your ground even when you're not the center of attention? The man who passes this test knows one thing deeply. No one can replace him, because no one is him. He's not better. He's not worse. He's irreplaceable because he doesn't compete. He simply exists in his full, undiluted form and lets others reveal who they are in contrast. So when she compares, you don't flinch. You nod. You might say, "Sounds like an interesting guy," and then move the conversation forward. Or you respond with light humor. "If he was so great, what happened?" Not with bitterness, but with curiosity. You don't try to control the narrative. You let your energy speak for you. What's happening here is deeper than words. You're showing her that you don't crumble under external standards. You don't need to outperform anyone because your worth is already decided by you. That kind of energy creates safety, and safety, when paired with calm confidence, is what leads to deep emotional and sexual attraction. To pass this test, let go of the scoreboard. Let go of needing to prove your superiority. Instead, anchor in your identity. Let her feel that your self-image isn't up for comparison, because it's not even on the same playing field. You are your own category. That's the energy she respects. That's the energy she surrenders to. Number 10, the delayed or rejected intimacy test. You've built connection. She's leaned in. The eye contact is strong. The chemistry feels real. She's touched you, smiled, maybe even whispered something suggestive. Every signal says, go. So you go to kiss her, or to take her hand, or to lead her somewhere more private. And suddenly, she pulls back. She hesitates. She says, "Not now." Or worse, she looks at you differently, cold, detached, like the mood vanished. Most men panic in this moment. They feel rejected, embarrassed, or frustrated. They get quiet or awkward. Some even react with tension or pressure. But this is not rejection. This is a stress test for your masculinity. It's her way of seeing, are you only confident when it's easy? Or can you stay calm when your desire is denied? This is the delayed or rejected intimacy test, and it separates boys from men. You pass this test not by withdrawing or pushing harder. You pass it by remaining composed. You lean back, you smile, you say, "All good." You show no disappointment, no hunger, no shame. You stay warm, but grounded. You let her see that her decision doesn't disturb your core. Because in that moment, what she's really watching is your emotional authority. She wants to know, can I trust this man with my vulnerability, with my body, with my fears? And if you get upset when the pace slows, you've already answered. To pass this test, you must lead with non-attachment. That means you are connected, present, engaged, but not grasping. You want her, yes, but you don't need her validation to feel whole. You don't need her submission to feel like a man. You stay in your masculine center whether she gives you more or pulls back. This doesn't mean you suppress your desire. It means you own it. You let it exist without controlling your behavior. You don't beg. You don't argue. You hold the space. You allow her to feel safe in her no, so she can later give you a full yes. And when she sees you stay that calm, that secure, that complete, she begins to let go of her defenses. Because now she knows. This is not a man who takes. This is a man who holds, who leads, who waits. Not because he's afraid, but because he chooses patience over pressure. That's the man she wants to surrender to. Not because she has to, but because she knows she's finally safe to. You've just seen what most men never even realize. 10 tests, each designed not to confuse or control you, but to reveal you, to show her the truth about your emotional structure. Not just how you act when it's easy, but who you are when the pressure rises, when the moment turns, when your ego is on the line. These tests will show up in conversations, in relationships, in moments that seem small. But every one of them is a chance to lean into your power, not your panic, to slow down instead of chase, to lead with calm, not control, and every time you pass one, she feels it, her body knows it, her trust grows, her desire deepens. You become the man she was hoping you were. Not perfect, not performative, but solid, real, masculine in the way that can't be faked, because it's built from the inside out. And now, it's your turn to step into that. So if you've made it to this point, you already stand apart. You've committed to mastery. You're no longer living blind to the games that most men never even see. You're on the path of strength, clarity, leadership, the path of stoic masculinity. Stay on it. If this message hit you, comment unstoppable below. I want to know who watched all the way through. You are the few, not the many. And if you want more, support this channel, not just to help us grow, but to help reach more men like you. Men who need to hear this, who are lost in confusion, who were never shown what power really is. Your support helps bring this clarity to the world. Subscribe, like, share it with a brother. Together we change lives, starting with our own.